Lots of windows and lighting, excellent acoustics. And it had 2 restrooms, a kitchen, a couple of rooms for nursery or Sunday school classes, and then they had this large room that we could hold our church services, and we could hold 80 people in there. We still had access to the school pool for our baptisms, so this was a great improvement, and we loved it. So at the end of the trial period, Pastor Frank very boldly, I think, actually asked the principal if our church could be given permanent sole use of that building so that no one else could rent it, and even the school couldn't use it. Well, the school board actually granted permission for us to do that back in December last year. And they even gave us permission at our own cost. We could even renovate the inside of the building to make it so that it would be useful for us. So our workers there, our members there, are taking out a storeroom that was in the right-hand corner there. And after we took that out, and then we brought in our brand new padded connecting stackable chairs, we could get 100 people in that room rather than 80. We've never heard of a public school in Australia giving such an opportunity to a church group, but the Lord did that for our church. Over the years, as the church has grown in numbers, we can provide more services and ministries. And some of the ministries we have had over the years are nursing home hymn singing, a youth group, children's church, street evangelism, family fun nights, family camp, carols by candlelight, which is a very traditional church service at Christmas time, men's breakfast, and ladies' afternoon high tea. And then literature distribution into homes. Now, I'm delivering literature into this letterbox, and you might think that that's illegal. You can't do that. You can do it in Australia. You do not have to have a stamp on literature, and you do not have to have it delivered by the postal system. So this is a good way for, businesses and churches to get literature into homes. In fact, it is a more culturally acceptable way to do this because in Australia there's a privacy fence around probably 99% of the houses in Australia. And they do that for a reason, because their home is their castle. And you would go to the front door of someone's house if you had been invited. And you would be invited if they considered you a friend. Otherwise, if you're just an acquaintance, they might meet you at a coffee shop or something to have a coffee, but they wouldn't invite you to their home. So if you go like door-to-door knocking, like some places in America, churches use that you've already put up a barrier by coming into their castle, uninvited. And then there's opportunities for discipleship. Steve discipled this taxi driver for about 2 years. Faith Baptist Church is a growing church. The attendance on a Sunday now is consistently in the 60s and even sometimes into the 70s. And then besides helping Faith Baptist Church as a church plant, we also teamed up with another Bible college graduate with his church. Jamil and his wife are from Lebanon, and they have been reaching Arabic-speaking people in Melbourne for quite a few years. And then about 4 years ago, a group actually constituted into a church. Pastor Jamil wanted an English-speaking preacher to come and speak in their church one Sunday every month, because the young people in this church, the teenagers and the young adults, and the children too, they are second-generation immigrants, so they speak better English than they do Arabic. So we teamed up with this church, and Steve doesn't know Arabic, so he had to speak through Pastor Jamil as the interpreter. But so the first Sunday of every month we were there. Now they rent a church building, but that church needs the church for their services in the morning. So this church actually meets for their Sunday service at 4:30 in the afternoon. And so we would go to our church, Faith Baptist Church, in the morning on the first Sunday of the month. In the afternoon, we go over to the Way Baptist Church.
So we teamed up with the church. And we scheduled, as we say in Australia, scheduled classes. And before we had our own building, and the church let us use their educational building. And the student body grew in this location. But we still didn't have funds to relocate the college. We have our own building. The first church we ministered in Australia, came to the sad decision to close its doors. And that's always sad. But in that, they had a large sum of money. And they gave a large gift to the college, and suddenly we had the funds for that. And so the way the funds were used is the college decided to purchase 2 used transportable public school buildings. This is one of them. And to the Victorian, in the state of Victoria, that screams school. They recognize it. And we were able to buy it at a good cost, and that was added to the educational building of the church. There were lots of workers in the project. Now right now you're seeing me. Jan's behind the camera. I asked the others who were helping me pack the library, can I take your picture? You know what they said? No. But we praised the Lord, 2 churches rented trucks as well to help transport it. And we're thankful for the very adequate building. It was renovated and paid in full without any debt, which we praise the Lord for. A real answer to prayer. And we were able to enjoy the new facilities that God provided before we came on. That's, okay, the college board is now Australian. We have a building. Well, who's going to be the principal? In Australia, I was called a principal, not a president or an administrator. I was the principal. Jan was the secretary. We needed to hire an assistant principal and secretary. And we needed to train them. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. And the college board prayed and thought about it and searched. The Lord raised up Kevin Carl. Kevin is a graduate of VBBC. His first year at the college was my first year in 1980. And I can remember him. He was a good student and he had a keen sense of humor. And now you're looking at this get up here, right? He was his ministry for years has been children and youth evangelist. And one of his things he does is Cuzzo the Clown. He has a clown act. And that's what you see him there doing, the clown act, in order just to reach the kids. And he's very good at it. But he's also taught at VBBC and serves on the board of directors. He's planning and is in the process of cutting back his ministry at the college so that he can spend more time training the next generation of workers for the Australian field. And the Lord raised up Denise to be the secretary and librarian. We were impressed as we worked with Denise. She's efficient. She knows her secretary stuff. And so the college is in good hands to continue, by God's grace. And before we left Australia, we had a special service. And they called it Pass the Baton Day. Now, in America, you call it baton. No, it's a baton. That's the right way to say it. And what I'm handing to Brother Kevin is a torch. I know what a torch is? It's a flashlight. And you have the torch, hold the torch, keep the light shining. And Jan is there talking about handing it over to him. So that's the college ministry, just in a real nutshell. But what is our future ministry? As for us, Baptist Missions, we'll make arrangements to announce our retirement date. Until then, we're still in full-time ministry with Baptist Missions. And also another thing that the board asked, when we talked with the board, and says, look, I'm willing from America, from Bloomington, to be able, Indiana, not Minnesota or Illinois or whatever, to be involved in teaching one class per semester via Skype. I've done it before, that's what I'm doing there. And when we went in 1980, I didn't know what a computer was. How things have changed over the years. That we can use the internet, still have an input there to Australia. So, and one of my great passions has been the languages of the Bible, which is reflected, of course, in Anna's ministry that she has there. This is one of the workshops that Anna is doing. And she's worked with Bibles International. We've talked with Bibles International. I said, look, I'm willing to help out where I can. And they've listed 8 things to help the consultants, help the trainers, background materials that build on what we've been doing for 35 years, working with the languages that can be a help to the people in the translation ministry. And laborers are few, with harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Yeah, there'll always be plenty of work to do. So that's one of the things.